All right, refreshing now.
Okay,
a broker
thank
on an
you.
online crime forum claimed to have stolen records from 170,000 customers and was offering them for sale. Reached by the Associated Press on an encrypted chat site, the broker said they were acting on behalf of a seller. Posted samples from about a dozen customers included social security numbers, names, addresses, emails, and phone numbers. The reaction of one victim contacted by the AP was, "Oh my God." The hack follows several recent breaches affecting U.S.
Can I get a few words from Pastor Brooks?
Okay, Pastor
on the U.S.
Brooks.
Marshal Service and a computer breach at
Yes, good
FBI
morning.
field office in New York. Jennifer King, Washington.
Okay, keep talking.
Foley,
Okay.
AP News.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
This
How's
is 8:20 a.m.
Good,
Great.
WCPT and streaming worldwide at WC.
All right,
Thank
everyone
you.
sounds good on my end.
Okay,
morning.
Chicago's
fantastic.
progressive talk, where facts matter. Now,
I'm about to do the math real quick, but I believe we have around 5 or 6 minutes, but I'll let you know in just a second.
Fantastic.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist
finish reading
Michael
this.
Carroll. A winter weather advisory goes into effect for this evening. For today, mostly cloudy skies with a late day rain-snow mixture developing, highs in the lower 40s. Then changing over to all snow for tonight, expecting 1 to 3 inches of nighttime snowfall, dropping back to a low of 34. Light breezy east winds. Friday, any lingering snow ending early on up to 36. And that's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 38.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
5 minutes till the show starts.
Get in my
Okay.
car. Why are you walking to work? Thanks, man. It's these insanely high gas prices. They are draining my bank account. I can't afford to drive anymore. Dude, don't walk. Just do what I do because I never pay full price for gas anymore.
Okay.
I use the
Hey,
free Upside
Daryl
app that pays you cash
and
back
Mark
for every gallon of gas you buy. Wait, you're telling
and
me you get
Robert
paid cash
and
when you buy
Andre
gas with the
and
Upside app?
Joyce.
Yes, I get
Cindy,
real
we
cash
almost love
back
everybody.
every time
Please
I buy
like and
gas.
share,
Does that
like and
actually
share.
add up to anything? I'll make around $200.
We had our first televised
Wow, that's
mayoral
serious
debate
extra
when we
cash.
talking
I'm
about
downloading the
that
free
and
Upside
what
app
the
now.
issues
Download the
are.
free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SMART for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's promo code SMART. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SMART for 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SMART.
If you have ever thought about remodeling your bathroom but were worried it would take too long or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. A jacuzzi bath system fits in your existing tub space. It's a no-mess installation with an amazing style selection, factory-certified installers, and a limited lifetime warranty. Call 800-826-9895.
Shirley
That's
from Houston, Philadelphia, and
800-826-9895
Joyce.
right now and get 50% off installations with no interest and no payments for 12 months. Replace that old bathtub today with a walk-in shower for a safer bathing experience. If you have lived in your home for over 15 years, it's time to remodel your bathroom. For a virtual or in-home appointment, call 800-826-9895. That's 800-826-9895. 800-826-9895.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Gas prices. They are draining my bank account. I can't afford to drive anymore. Dude, don't walk. Just do what I do because I never pay full price for gas anymore. I use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy. Wait, you're telling me you get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app? Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas. Does that actually add up to anything? I'll make around $200. Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SMART for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's promo code SMART. You can cash out anytime.
Hey everybody, I'm so glad that you're with us today.
Gift card for Amazon
Please
and
make
other
sure
brands. Just
that
download the
you
free Upside app and use
like
promo
and share
code
the show,
SMART
like and
for
share,
25
like
cents
and
a gallon
share,
bonus on
like
your
and
first
share.
tank. That's code
2 minutes.
Okay.
Social Security is with you through life's journey. Get to know us at socialsecurity.gov. We are there, day one, with baby names and a gift that lasts a lifetime. We are there as you grow, protecting you and those you love. We are there when you get your first job, helping you to save for the future. We are there when you marry your sweetheart, to help secure your new life together. We are there if the unexpected happens, to help you see life from a new perspective. We are there when you start your next chapter to make sure you get off to a great start. And we are there when you lose your soulmate to help make sure you will be all right. We are with you through life's journey, Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. Get to know us and see what you can do online at Social Security.
Laura, hey, you all. Hey. Okay.
If you have ever thought about remodeling
right,
your bathroom,
so
but
everybody,
were worried
let's
it would
have a
take too
great
long
show.
or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. A jacuzzi bath system fits in your existing tub space. It's a no-mess installation with an amazing style selection, factory-certified installers, and a limited lifetime warranty. Call 800-826-9895. That's 800-826-9895.
30 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Let's have a great show, everybody. Let the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Oh, praise God. All right, everybody, let's have a great show.
Call 800-826-9895. That's 800-826-9895. 800-826-9895.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome. Getting a little feedback here. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, March 9th, Thursday. Wow, can you believe it's already March? Thursday, March 9th, 2023. AM 950 Radio is my home to the north in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Sending you all much love today. The mayoral race here in Chicago is on and cracking, everybody. On and cracking. The first televised debate was last night. It was exciting. A lot of punching back and forth between Brandon Johnson and Paul Vallis. Paul Vallis will be our guest tomorrow, and Brandon Johnson will be with us on Monday. Can't wait to hear from them both about not just that debate, not looking back, but what they plan to offer the city. And let's talk about it, everybody. I want to hear who you got in this fight. 24% of Chicagoans, of people who are most likely to vote, have not made up their minds yet. 24%. The latest polls have Paul Vallis leading by 11 points, but 24% have not made up their minds. So what do you think is going to happen? What are you going to do? You're the one who's going to have to make it happen. So what are you going to do? What are you planning to do? I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. We're going to be talking about that today. And then, of course, we're going to get the jobs report from Dr. Max Wolf, brilliant economist, and child labor. Child labor has quadrupled in the United States since 2015. Why are we going back to child labor, which preceded the industrial age? We did that in slavery. Why are we using children to do the work? Don't have to pay them as much now. I mean, it's a horrible thing. So we're going to be talking about that today on the Santita Jackson Show. So let's get to some of the headlines. In Chicago, 39 degrees. It will rain today, but in Minneapolis, St. Paul, you're going to have some snow. 33 degrees, just about freezing you are. And in the NBA, the Bulls 117, the Nuggets 96. The Timberwolves had their night off, but not tomorrow night. In the NHL, the Red Wings 4, Chicago 3. The Wild 2. They were triumphant over the Jets. All right, everybody. What are the latest headlines? President Joe Biden is set to release his 2024 budget today, laying out his policy vision for the year ahead. The new budget will cut the deficit by nearly $3 billion over the next 10 years, according to the White House. Advisors stress that the budget reflects his fiscal vision with significant investments in manufacturing, climate, education, paid leave, and health care, all paired with a menu of tax increases on corporations and wealthier Americans. Will it pass, everybody? People are saying that it won't, but we will see. It will also include cuts to wasteful spending on special interests like big oil and big pharma. We're going to talk about more of that as we go forward. Millions across Central and Northern California are bracing for it, and a really, really strong storm beginning today with heavy rain threatening to cause widespread flooding, everybody, in areas grappling with days-long snowfall. Again, more rain, more water. Wow, talk about the mudslides that are coming. More than 17 million people are under flood watches in California and slices of Nevada. At least 11 people were killed after Russia targeted critical infrastructure across Ukraine with more than 80 missile strikes today, according to officials. And the FBI director admitted yesterday in a U.S. Senate intelligence hearing that the cell phone geolocation data of Americans has been purchased by the FBI in the not-too-recent past. And many privacy advocates are saying that, hey, wait a minute, we have got to keep Americans' privacy uppermost in our minds, and they're asking Congress to intervene to make sure that government surveillance, mass government surveillance, is not the order of the day. And those are just some of the headlines on the Santita Jackson Show. We, of course, have Pastor Darius Brooks, Grace Central Church, giving us some good news today. I ask you this every week, but I think it's so important because so many people are struggling, Pastor Brooks. We can get food at your church. How and when?
Santita, good morning. Every Tuesday from 5 till 7, we feed 8 different townships, and we give $200 to $300 in food. When I tell you it's like going shopping, it's going shopping. And I'm sharing this with you because it's true. On Wednesdays, we do noon to 2 for the seniors so they won't come out in the evening. That's at Grace Central Church, 10216 South Kitchener Street, Westchester, Illinois. Every Tuesday. We was doing it before the pandemic. We did it during the pandemic, and God has blessed us to do it right now, and which is going to be the message today. Santita, we're still serving and feeding the hungry, healing the sick spiritually, and it ain't going to stop until Jesus come again. I know what you heard, but you can't get a dollar out of me. Somebody got to keep serving, keep trusting, keep believing, and keep having faith, which takes me to the message today. Let's journey through the good news, Santita. Romans 14, 22 and 23. Has thou faith? Have it to thyself before God. Happy is he that condemneth not himself in that thing which he alloweth. And he that doubteth is damned if he eat, because he eateth not of faith. For whatsoever is not of faith is sin. Santita, if I had to use myself this morning, this thing told me he is more faithful than good. God is more faithful than good. Santita, I'm in the room in my house, and I'm going to run out of here because it's so true. Dealing with the generation of baggage, we've become skeptical growing up in church. We are taught things, theologies, and stuff, Santita, that gave so-called answers to every situation. True faith was assumed, and questions were not always welcome. Yet doubt and cynicism mark much of who we are today. Growing up in the 80s and 90s and even now gave us reasons to question perceived truths. Well-known people in the Bible, and some of us who have seen, kept the faith, and people of positions in the position of the church thing fell off. Of much of what we've experienced and are experiencing today, and made us fall short of what was promised. And so we doubt our faith, our family, our love for each other. We doubt the motivation of God's word and stories of some of them who told us and have written experiences on how God has brought them out of darkness into a marvelous light. And through any situation that comes our way, we doubt their advice. Santita, he's more faithful than good. For those who have been separated from the church because of doubt, keep searching and questioning. For those who have remained silent and quiet, struggling with their faith, be honest with yourself. Talk to yourself. Ask yourself questions. Leave room for uncertainty. But one thing for sure, that I recommend is that you allow God to defend himself. Santita, I'm about to run up out of here, which is what I did. I stopped believing what everybody else told me, and I started getting into his word for myself. I told Grace Central on Sunday, stop paying attention to what God is doing and just do what he told you to do. So often we live as if God and his word rely solely on others and even us. God has called the believer to live as truth and light in and through him. And his truth will not cease, and his light will not be darkened. Instead of making God's truth a reputation, our responsibility is to know him for ourselves in our private space and place. Our responsibility is to live honestly and obedient about our faith and what we believe as individuals. You who have faith, work it. Those of you who doubt, get more involved in seeking him. And this time around, do it between you and God. I just heard on your show a second ago, Santita, that Social Security is with you through your life's journey. It's with you when you're married, divorced, happy, sad, or mad.
Absolutely.
Everything you go through, it identifies you wherever you go. Don't let Social Security or anything else be bigger than God's word. God's word is more faithful than good. All of his promises are yea and amen. Don't let your words be a faint whisper, and not let your trusting and doing be a mighty shout. You'll be glad you did. They felt he is more faithful than good.
Amen. I love it. I love it. I love it. Endure, 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 everybody. Endure. And again, how can we get the food, and where are you located?
Grace Central Church, 10216 South Kitchener Street, Westchester, Illinois, right off of 290 in Manhattan. Every Tuesday from 5 till 7, and every Wednesday for seniors from noon till 2. Grace Central Church, 10216 South Kitchener Street, Westchester, Illinois, right by Maywood and Hillside on the west side.
Pastor Darius Brooks. Oh, yes, that Darius Brooks. Your will is what's best for me. And the Tommies. We just love you, Pastor Brooks. We're going to bring on Dr. Shanina Knighton, infection preventionist. And, of course, her handle is Hey, Dr. Nina on social media, HEYDRNINA. We have been talking about, oh, my goodness, sugar and our own health this week. And I think it really, I just wanted to dig in to that just a little bit further, Dr. Knighton, because as you mentioned the other day, sugar is everywhere. I mean, when you really examine the contents of your food, sugar is in so many places. And I remember about a little more than 20 years ago, or maybe it was just exactly 20 years ago, the World Health Organization launched a war on obesity. And do you know who their biggest foe was? The American sugar lobby. Wow. And that was at the same time that everybody was beating up Dr. Atkins. And Dr. Atkins, which now the keto diet really comes in part from him, I lived in New York and I became one of his patients, Dr. Knighton. And what was amazing was that his clinic was in the wealthiest zip code in New York. And you would have thought that just the wealthiest people in New York would have been there. Yeah, not quite. What you saw in New York, even though he catered to very wealthy people, when you walked into the clinic, it was nothing but black and brown people. It was amazing, amazing. And this was more than 20 years ago when I did that. And I thought about it. I said, wow, they attacked him. The sugar lobby attacked him. And trying to get off sugar, I couldn't have sugar, anything that tasted sweet. They wouldn't even let me have sweeteners for the first 11, 12 days, because they wanted me to come back in. They wanted to do my blood work and see what my reaction was. And it's a funny thing, I lost 15 pounds. It was amazing. Amazing. What is it about this processed sugar, Dr. Knighton? And how do we deal with it? Because it's trying to not use it girl, I just tried to do my best to stay home. Obviously, I couldn't do that, but it was so hard. It was so hard. It was so hard, Dr. Knighton. But, I mean, sugar is almost, it feels like it's addictive. Dr. Knighton.
Yes. So that's the thing, Santita, that's so interesting. Look, I don't want the lobbyists coming after me either.
Like they did with Oprah and the beef.
Yes, because I think the thing is the reality, and you've heard this story like over again, like back in the day, you know, when people would fight. And I'm thinking about, like, let's say, like the Poison Squad, right, that actually lobbied against certain food ingredients, that argued against certain things. And there's stories that even when it came back down to, like, let's say, a brand of pop that used to put cocaine inside of the pop, right, that when that came up to be a big concern back then because people were so surprised that that was done, the argument, or the reason that the argument was won, is because they knew that sugar was just as much as of an addictive drug and will have longevity. It is in absolutely everything, which is why you see, as you mentioned, certain diets that advertise don't do more than 100 grams of sugar, you know, per day. Do X, Y, and Z, because it's known now, like the effects that it can have on the body. But we don't think about how it's in everything. So, for example, think about a kid that goes to school every day and all that your mother can afford is peanut butter and jelly. You looking at the jelly that's got added sugar, you looking at the peanut butter that's got added sugar, and you looking at the 2 pieces of bread. Just that PB&J is likely your sugar content for the day. And it depends, because, you know, depending on how you put it together. But that's how crazy it is. So imagine eating that for breakfast. Then you turn around, lunchtime, unless you're having a salad. Let's say you're eating. So you eat. Oh, and then it's another thing, breakfast. So I was on lunch. But let's say breakfast is pancakes or some sort of breakfast sandwich with some syrup. It's still sugar. And so what it is, and then too, like even if you have fresh fruit in the morning, but you're eating it with a breakfast sandwich or you're eating it with a pastry, it's sugar. And we don't think about how that sugar adds up. Because by the time we make it to dinner, unless, let's say, we're eating protein and vegetables, we know potatoes, which contain sugar. And you don't realize how much sugar you're eating or consuming. And then think about if you're like, hey, let me have a glass of wine with my meal. Let me have a cup of fruit juice with my meal. All of those things add up. Or let's say you got dessert after dinner. The brain has completely erased the fact that you've had all of this other sugar earlier today. So when people say that they have a hard time, like, losing weight, or they're like, well, I ate decent this week, the last thing that we do not think about is sugar. And when we don't think about sugar and the fact that it can convert into fat, the fact that our bodies, we ask ourselves, like, why is it that it takes me 2 months, 2 years to lose weight, but it takes me 2 weeks to pick it back up? It's because without exercise or without doing something to your body that's getting ready to adjust for the amount of sugar that's converting it into fat, it's going to convert into fat much quicker than what it is you will be able to convert something into muscle. And it's a sad reality, but it's true. And so we don't think about just that process, as I mentioned, of what are we doing to ourselves to understand that it starts with mindfulness. It starts with a consciousness of thinking through, what am I going to eat? So when you hear people say they're meal prepping or they're planning out their menu, it's really easy for a coworker to entice you with a donut, and then you still have your plan to schedule. So it's really having to be very diligent, persistent, and oh my gosh, like you have to have self-control because it's so much of it that is around us that we don't understand that we're over-consuming and that is making us sick.
Well, you don't even know what sugar is. I mean, starches. I remember, look, I was always on a diet as a child, and my next-door neighbor, Dawn, and I, our mothers constantly had us dieting. And the diets then were to restrict the starches. But no one made the connection between that and sugar. You know?
Exactly. But the problem is when we think about, let's say, sugar intake, it impacts your body's ability to fight off infection. It can, like fungus feeds off of it in the body. So when your body is ill, it's actually something that it craves. When you hear about people having sugar rushes, when you think about the long-term consequences of diabetes and what diabetes does to the body because your body isn't able to balance sugar appropriately. And as a result leads to circulation issues and other issues with other organs. When you think about having your kidneys functioning and your kidneys needing, like let's just say water to be able to flush it out, but if your body is overwhelmed with sugar, and that sugar that then has to be filtered through your kidneys is impacting your kidneys.
Unbelievable.
So, wow.
I have about a minute left. What should we, because, you know, when you take the sugar out your diet, you will lose this weight. What should we be conscious of? Should we be looking out for starches or, I mean, what's the answer?
It's all of that. And the thing is when you think about, like, let's say, a lot of people suggest, like, that you should have no more than 6 teaspoons or 24 grams of sugar. Start by looking at your labels and start by adding it up before you consume it. Or add it up even after you've consumed it to see how close or away you fall from that 24 grams. Now, I told you that 75 grams can cause your immune system to dip for 5 hours. We know that on a regular basis we're above that. We know that a cup of coffee, as I mentioned, and a pastry gets us at 75 grams. If it's restricted, and I'm telling you that 24 grams is too much, or 6 teaspoons,
yes,
a lot of us are already over as women.
Before we walk out the door. Stay right here. Everybody, hey, Dr. Nina, HEYDRNINA. Wow. Get some information from this woman. And we're going to continue this conversation about it tomorrow and the next day and the next day, because you need to know, how you pick up that 10, 15, 20, 30 pounds. This is how this happens. Back with more. We're talking about the Chicago mayoral debate on the other side of the break on the Santita Jackson Show. Dr. Knighton, please give us, please wrap this up, because I'm going to tell you, when I did not have, when I first started their plan, because the Atkins plan has 4 stages: induction, ongoing weight loss, pre-maintenance, and maintenance. And in the induction, they cut all sugar at that time, because you didn't have the substitutions that you didn't have as many substitutions as you had. But what they were trying to do ideally was take you away from all sugar, because they wanted to see how your body was without having had anything sweet. And I want you to know that was the hardest 11 or 12 days of my life, girl. And when I got to that clinic and I did my blood work and they said I could have some sweetener, girl, I ran. And I got me a nice, tea. And I put some sweetener in it, girl, I was in heaven. But I had to watch the lemon. I mean, the sugar's everywhere. Dr. Knighton, it's everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
Didn't know.
Yes, it absolutely is. And the irony of it is that your body, just the same way how somebody would be detoxing from a drug, like let's say heroin or something.
Hi, Miss Jackson.
Even out.
We have Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Kevin Lampy, and Shapiro Wells ready to go.
Body detoxes if you were to go cold turkey with no sugar. You are going to get headaches. You're going to be having the shakes. It is a lot of stuff that goes on when you don't have sugar.
Let me tell you, I didn't have the headaches, but I tell you what I had. Anxiety. I was like, oh my gosh, this is awful. Whew. It was a lot. I'm going to tell you, it was a whole lot. It was a whole lot. But, I got through it. But I'm sounding like I'm an addict. Well, sugar isn't everything, so I guess I was. So I just want you all to think about that because, that's how we end up picking up 1 pound, 2 pounds, 3, 5, 10, 15, 30, 40, 50. I mean, you look up and you have put on a whole lot of weight and you don't even know why. You don't even know why. Mm-hmm. Dr. Nina, I'm sending you much love. We're going to pivot right onto this, to the mayoral election because that's a real big thing here in Chicago. Big. You want to listen?
Yes.
It is exciting, girl. It's exciting. Kevin Lampy?
Good morning.
Oh, my goodness. Reverend Jeanette Wilson?
Good morning. How are you?
Fantastic. So glad that you all are with us today. You'll be with me to the top of the hour. And then in the second hour, we're going to be talking with with David Hochberg. What we're going to do on the show, Kevin Lampy and Reverend Wilson, he's become a sponsor on the show, and what I want him to do is to make at least 20 people homeowners. How about that?
There you go.
So we're going to find some of our listeners who want to become homeowners. If you want to become homeowners, you're in the right place. He is going to help to make you one. How about that? And take you through all the steps. Your credit could be wrecked right now. If it is, that's fine. That's all to the good. Going to help you to get your credit together and get things together so you can get a credit card and get off that debit card and get yourself in great financial shape. Okay? All right. So stand by, everybody. How much time do we have? 30 seconds?
30 seconds.
Okay, actually now just under 30, everybody. Stand by.
We can change the world, change the world, change the world. Oh, yes, we can. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It is March 9th, Thursday, and this afternoon we are going to have a health and wellness panel from 4 to 6. I hope you will join Esposito, Patty Vasquez, and I here on WCPT and on our Facebook pages. I'm going to share it on mine as well. It will be talking about integrative medicine, and you need to be a part of that, everybody. Integrative medicine, your head bone's connected to your neck bone's connected to you, all of that, and even naturopathic remedies. Everything will be on the table, and so we want you to be there from 4 to 6. All right, let's talk about this mayoral race, everybody. According to the latest polls, Paul Vallis has a solid lead, 11 points ahead of Brandon Johnson, but 24% of the electorate they are undecided. So what does that mean? What's happening? So many establishment African Americans are supporting Paul Vallis. What's the deal? And which is surprising a lot of people. But it's still anybody's race, everybody. Of course, Paul Vallis will be on this show tomorrow, and Brandon Johnson will be on this show on Monday. So we're looking forward to speaking with them both. Well, before we do that, let us talk with you, Shapiro Wells. You have got celebrations by us. Oh boy, I got to get some food from you myself. Love it.
Good morning, Santita. And yes, we are now gearing up for prom season. At Celebrations by Us, we are taking your orders for your balloon arches, as well as also your custom backdrops, as well as also your suite tables. So give us a call at 708-526-4546, 708-526-4546. And we're doing all of your school colors, as well as also mascots, custom backdrops, whatever you need for your prom send-off. Call us. And we're also doing, of course, our food. So we're doing a lot of hors d'oeuvres, sandwiches, as well as also fruit trays and meatballs. So give us a call, 708-526-4546. We're putting out our prom packages for your convenience, so that way you can have a select set package for you to choose from. So call us at 708-526-4546, 708-526-4546. We look forward to serving you. Thank you so much, Santita.
Thank you. And let me say hello to my morning stars, Daryl Prunty and Andre Parker and Joyce Anderson. Of course, Mark Stevens from D.C. and Shirley from beautiful Philadelphia. Love it. Joyce Anderson. And let me see, there's so many of you who are out here today. Joyce and Laura Bell. Hey, girly girl. Hey, y'all. Sending you all much love. Robert. Hallelujah to you too. Barbara Bacon from Oak Park, love it. Jewel from up there in New York, going to see you in another week or so, Jewel. And then Francis, always lifting up our elected officials, sending you much love. And our beloved from France, sending you much love. I'm sending you many kisses too. And, of course, I'm just so glad that you all are with us today. Please continue to interact with each other. You can, of course, join the Morning Stars on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and on the Santita Jackson and Friends page. So let's get right to it. We have got an election for the Chicago mayor, April 4th, and you have aldermanic races on the table, too, but everyone's looking at the Chicago mayor. But you need to look at the aldermanic races also. Last night, though, there was the first televised debate in the post, now we got a runoff. That's what's happening on April 4th. And so now Paul Vallis and Brandon Johnson faced off last night and sparks flew. And now we see in the latest polling that Paul Vallis is leading by 11 points, with 24% of the electorate undecided. So it's anybody's race. What's going to happen? We're talking with Reverend Jeanette Wilson from Rainbow Push. Of course, she is the pastor of the Maple Park United Methodist Church, and, of course, brilliant political strategist and crisis management consultant, Kevin Lampe. Let me start with you, Kevin. What do you see?
Well, I see that it is the race is on, and it's now the sprint to April 4th, or actually to early voting starts when we begin the voting season before the election day. But what I saw in the debate and in the coverage of it is that, Paul Vallis's job was to look mayoral and not to get into arguments with Brandon Johnson, which he achieved for the most part. But Brandon Johnson also needs to look mayoral. Paul Vallis, that comes easy for him. He's had years of experience of being a spokesperson on all the different activities he's done in his professional life. Brandon Johnson, this is due for him to get onto the big stage. But I think he did a good job at the debate. He was strong. He pushed on the issues, and he demonstrated that he could be mayor of the city.
Why do you say that he demonstrated that he could be mayor, that he did well on the big stage? What was it that you found reassuring? Because you work with candidates all the time. Indeed, part of your work is getting these candidates ready, like Barack Obama when he was a state senator, and then getting him ready for the big stage. And then when he became a senator, you wanted to get him ready for the bigger stage. What do you tell a candidate to do?
What they need to do is they need to be confident in their answers. They need to always be, you need to present ideas that you know what you're talking about and that you're confident in the details and confident in the facts. You need to be well-read, you need to be well-researched, and you need to get out there and you need to make your points of what is important. And you need to understand what you're doing and what your message is going to be when you start to speak. And that, I think, Brandon Johnson has done a good job and gets better with it each time he does it. The only way you're going to get better at this is to do it more often, and that's why I'm excited that there's going to be a number of forums and debates through the course of this election.
Your thoughts, Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Esquire?
I thought that the two men were very different in how they responded to the questions that Marianne Ahern asked. One, Brandon is extremely aspirational. I think he has great ideas about what we can do, what we should do, and it reminds me of Barack's The Audacity of Hope. Dallas, on the other hand, having worked in the budget office, had more specific responses to what he would do, possibly could do. Neither of them really answered all the questions. I think 45 seconds is a long time on television, but it's a short time to give a complete response. People are looking to hear, what will you do, not responding to the needs. Yes, we have a need for safety. What are you going to do differently than what has been done over the past several decades and even over the past 4 years? And so I think that I'm looking forward to the next debate where they can be more specific about what you plan to implement. And I think that part of it is, who are you talking to in preparation for this stage? I remember your father, as you perhaps do, his preparation. He had a wealth of insight, but when Reverend prepared to speak anywhere, he talked to several experts in the field. If it was a legal matter, he talked to a diverse body of lawyers. Mm-hmm. If it were...
And he would have meetings.
Social justice. He'd have meetings.
He didn't. Meetings where he was...
You don't go
prepped.
into this talking to your staff who may be well-intentioned, but they don't have the facts, they don't have the background, they don't have the experience. And so I think that if you want to not win just the debate, but win the public, you have to stand there and act as though you really do know what to do, not because you've necessarily had all of the experience, but you've talked to people with experience. That's what made Emil Jones powerful when he rose in the Senate, because he had been groomed for years in this political operation when he first came to Chicago. And you didn't have to agree with those guys, but they had been groomed and prepared for the positions that they earned. You look at Toni Prewinkle. She has been in the system for a while as an alderperson, and now as president of the county board. She has a real knowledge of what to do, whose buttons you have to push to move things forward. And I don't think that I saw that in the conversation yesterday.
I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763-9278. Whether you saw the debate or not, whom are you inclined to vote for? I mean, just who strikes you as someone who strikes you as someone who would lead the city in the way that you would want it led and the direction in which you'd want it led? Who do you like in this race? Paul Vallis, according to these polls, is 11 points ahead, but 24%, a full quarter of us, are undecided. Let me go to Pam. Pam, what's on your mind today? Is Pam there? Okay, well, we can always circle back. Why do you think 24% is, it seems like a lot of folks who are undecided still, Kevin Lampy. They're still trying to figure it out.
Oh, absolutely, because the dynamics of the race has changed now. We've gone from having, 9-some choices to having 2 choices now, and people still are figuring out what they want to say. And polling is just a snapshot in time. That number of undecideds can go up or down on a daily basis, but that's finding people that and this is, basically each candidate, when they start a race, they can count on that they're going to have each about 30%, and then you fight over the other 40% that's in the middle. And I think the undecideds are underpolled in a certain extent. Because those undecideds may not even agree to talk about a poll because they didn't know enough to even answer a poll when the opportunity arises for them.
Are you surprised that Paul Vallis has a solid lead at this time according to these polls?
Not at all. You know, he did a good job during the first stage of this race. In order to build that, he had a natural consistency that he was going after with the law and order message that gave him almost 40% of the vote. And so that is clear that those voters are with him. They're going to stay with him. They're not fluid. Brandon Johnson surged in talks of having around the city. People saw that he was moving at the right moment, that the interest in him was increasing almost on a daily basis as he went into the election on February 28th. He took advantage of that. He went out and worked hard. He went out and participated in neighborhoods. He went out and did the retail politics. His ground team was very effective in what they did in getting a turnout and getting people to show up for him. And so, this is a challenge of being able to have this two-stage race when you need to have the momentum to get you through the first stage, and then you start to build on it. And the good thing, what the advantage is for Brandon right now is he's the alternative, and he's going to continue to be one that people are going to be more interested in as he continues to campaign aggressively. And then you start the battle for the money. As the money is pouring in, we're going to be inundated with TV commercials and people knocking on their doors and text and phone calls. It's going to be hard to avoid this election.
Let me go to Otis. Otis, what's on your mind today?
I'm just listening to this, and honestly, I'm 54 years old. I'll be 55 in April. I'm so tired of these candidates coming on, and nobody's talking about black economics, about helping us own our own businesses in our community so we can feed, clothe, and shelter each other and have our own centers like these other groups do. I'm so tired of it. I'm at that point, I don't even want to vote because all I hear is police. It's the way they're talking about it, they make it sound like they need so much police in the black communities. Like when you walk down the street, minding your business, the police could just pull you over just because they can, all because of a reputation. Well, that's a bad community, so we had the right to pull people over or stop people from walking for no reason. I'm so tired of this. I mean, if neither one of them talking about black economics, if I don't hear anything about black economics when they get it, what they're going to do, honestly, I don't think I'm going to vote because it don't even matter. Because ever since Mayor Daley been in office, Daley all the way up to Lightfoot, it's been the same thing. It's been the same thing. Anybody out there, prove me wrong. Call in to prove me wrong or prove me right. Thank you.
Well, I tell you, Otis, I hope that you vote. But remember, hurt dogs holler. I think you're voicing your concerns. That's very important. But you've got to get involved in these campaigns. You've got to organize your friends. You've got to show up at these town hall meetings, at these debates. You've got to show up. And you've got to confront the candidates in a respectful way. But you got to do that. Jeanette, before we go to the other callers, why don't you respond to Otis? Because he expresses a real frustration and concern.
Well, he expresses what a large mass of undecided people are saying. People that didn't vote this last time because they were confused, disappointed. Because when he talks about black economic development, I think the Mayor Lightfoot moved to put that in place, but government doesn't move as quickly as we would expect or as orderly as we expect because we don't keep the pressure on. We elect aldermen and we never talk to them about what's happening in our community. How are we going to benefit economically? Who's going to manage the stores? Who's going to build the stores? Who's going to pay the community? I looked the other day in my ward, and here's a person from a whole nother town putting in gas lines, new gas lines. Not a black contractor. We have to shut down sites where we don't work. Whoever's the mayor, they have to know we care, whoever's the alderman, that we care about what happens in our communities. You got parks that haven't been open to children in 20 decades in our communities. And so, yes, Otis, you have to vote, but you also have to hold whoever wins accountable because whoever wins, you're paying their salaries. You are, they work for us. And I think that's what we have to really communicate. These people work for us. And if they work for you, you need to tell them what kind of job they should be doing and what kind of job they're not doing. And if they don't do the job, if it's 4 years, you're out.
Well, and also remember that the people who you voted for, who really philosophically are aligned with you, when they get into elective office, they serve everybody, including the people who voted against them or who did not like them. And the people who did not like them and who voted against them will be in the office because they need this person to do their work because the person represents them too. You got to stay involved, everybody. You've got to stay involved. Let me go to Pam. Pam, are you there for us now?
Yes, yes, I am. I'm here.
All right, what's on your mind, Pam?
I saw the debate. Santita, you talked about the establishment, endorsements for Dallas. I believe that's one of the reasons the black community is in the condition that it is. And I'm just saying that it seems like the establishment, do you put your business policies before the needs of the masses? And that's my concern.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw the debate. I heard Dallas just rattle off a bunch of numbers and just really trying to talk fast, I guess impress people with whatever experience. We've had Dallas, and watching him in the debate, it just put me in the mind of Rahm Emanuel and Daley. I'm not looking to regurgitate anything that has been done. I need to know, why is it radical to work for the masses of the people? I've been to the canvassing for Brandon Johnson, very positive responses. I've also attended house parties. And I can tell you, he talks about, I'm going to tell you the truth. I happen to believe that, Santita. It's going to be about who do we trust? Who do you believe is going to really try to work for the people? Brandon, they want to vilify his support. But now we hear that Dallas is supported by Ken Griffin. We know his ideology and his policies. So I'm concerned, yes, about public safety. Santita, I've told you many times, I live in one of those communities that is plagued with violence, drug use, and drug sales. So I believe that Commissioner Mayor Brandon Johnson, would be the one to deal with that in a significant way. I mean, you talk about compassion. As a mayor, I want a mayor with compassion. But I want one that, look at Brandon's plan. At least he's offered a budget plan and put it for the people to review. And he said that at the debate. I mean, transparency. My God, if we don't get that from this mayor, it's going to be problematic. For me, Dallas is using scare tactics. I'm not scared out here, Santita. I'm scared of the police that are affiliated with the Proud Boys and the hate group. What moderator is going to ask that question? I'm afraid that the police have been on lockdown and not working very hard to prevent crime under the FOP leadership when John Cantanzaro is in there. And lastly, I'm going to say this. I am looking for someone on that fifth floor to Republican-proof, Trump-proof, and MAGA-proof the fifth floor executive leadership. I trust Brandon Johnson's.
Well, I tell you what you're going to have to do. I hear you. Whoever gets in, you are going to have to hold them accountable. I've got 1 minute for you, Reverend Wilson, and 1 minute for Kevin Lampe. Jeanette?
Well, I think as you say, we have to hold them accountable, but we also have to be clear on our expectations. None of these debates include questions from the people, so we need to fight so that the people can have their questions submitted to the television stations so that they can be asked of the candidates, the issues that we're concerned about, what we want to hear from them. And that's something that we have to do and demand, and then when whoever gets elected, we must have our agenda that they expect. We expect whoever it is, whether it's either candidate, what do we want them to do and what are we willing to do? It's not enough to cast your vote and then you go home and sit on the couch and complain. Mm-hmm. You have to be active in these community organizations, active in these offices. I look at the city council meetings. How many of you have ever, if you're not working, ever been to a city council meeting to see what's happening, what legislation ordinances are being passed, what discussions are being held, and participate in the public comment? That's where the the elected policymakers appear before us, and we're not there to hear what they're saying, to tell us what they're doing.
And you better get there. I mean, sausage making ain't sexy, but I tell you what, you sure do like sausage, so you better get in there so you can help make it. Kevin Lampe, the last minute belongs to you.
Thank you, Santita. And I think the caller there brings up a number of important points that we need to be discussing, and we need to be the job now of the media and the voters hand in hand is to constantly be challenging these candidates to explain what they're going to do, to get beyond the platitudes and be able to tell us, all right, you keep saying you want more police. How do you want the police to do their jobs? But then again, what is the root challenge that we face that is creating this unsafeness on the streets? What do we need to do? What kind of economic development do we need to be doing in the community? What type of education do we need to be providing our children? We need to be getting into those specifics and to pushing them on details so they don't spend their time saying, we need more police, or we need this. No. How are we going to get to that point? We've established the fact, let's talk about police for a moment. We've established the fact there's not enough police, and we know there's a few thousand openings right now. But what is stopping us from getting the qualified candidates? What is stopping us getting the people that can do a good job at community policing? Let's get into the root cause of things and not just spend our time talking about these talking points.
Everybody, Rainbow Push will be having a debate. We're working on the date right now, and we want to get your questions, want to get your thoughts. Pam, we will be keeping you uppermost in mind before Kevin Lampe can send me a text. I'm about to send you one because I know you're like, wait a minute. We need to get your thoughts into the debate. Reverend Jeanette Wilson is right. You got to advocate for yourself. And we need to get your questions into the debates. Everybody, who wants to be a homeowner? If you think it's beyond your reach, it's not. Team Hochberg, David Hochberg, is going to be joining us at the top of the hour. We want to make at least 20 people homeowners. 20. Who wants to be a homeowner? Who's still using that debit card? You should not be using that debit card. You need to get a credit card. You say, my credit's not right. Well, we're going to figure out how we can get your credit to the place where you can get a credit card. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a few minutes. Thank you, Reverend Jeanette Wilson and Kevin Lampe.
My pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Of course.
Always a pleasure.
I do think we ought to have a place, Santita, where people can post questions they'd like to see asked of the candidates. We can submit them to every debate. But she's right. They never do the people's questions. And I think that's important.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We have got to do it. We've got to do it.
You're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you so much.
I don't know.
What you saying?
Every time I see you, I just pray for you because I know you don't sleep. So I just pray you can keep strength.
Please pray for me. It's a lot. It's a lot, but I am gonna. Well, you do. It takes a lot of work. It does take a lot of work, but I think if you want to do anything well, you're going to work hard. But this is a very intensive, labor-intensive work because you're constantly looking at the news, and I'm having to step away for like about 90 minutes a day in different spurts so that I can get my voice back in concert shape. So I'm working on a whole lot right now, and I'm just going to keep on pushing.
Well, look at the New York Times today. The Justice Department finds pattern of discriminatory policing in Louisville.
Oh, I saw that. I want to talk about that tomorrow.
That's very important.
I mean, calling people boy and all the horrible things that they were doing. But this is how Breonna Taylor was killed in her home. That level of contempt, Jeanette and Kevin. And these are the things people know. We know them anecdotally. We know them down on the ground. That's why that girl pulled out her camera, pulled out her phone, and filmed what happened to George Floyd. She sent her 9-year-old cousin into that store because she knew what was coming and she didn't want that child to see it. But at 17, she was a child, and she knew what was coming because of what she had already experienced. 17 years old, you're a child.
Absolutely.
And that child had already witnessed at least one murder, and that was George Floyd's. That's horrible. I mean, I cried when I saw her testifying in that trial. I was like, my goodness.
Absolutely.
I can't even imagine what goes through her mind. I mean, I can't imagine that. It's awful. So we're gonna get to it, but we need to figure out, Kevin, how we can establish a place where we can. Because I think maybe they should go to the Rainbow Push site. If
I would
something
think so.
should be, well, we've got to make sure that a place is created
We've got to
there.
make sure the site is ready. Or make a phone, if they could call us. We got people answering the phone every day.
Okay, well then we'll do that.
Today.
I will have people start doing that. But people are online too, so we have to be mindful of that.
Well, we got to get the website up and functioning, so I can talk to them about it today.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's things like that. You don't want to miss these opportunities. But I will ask people to call Rainbow Push. I will do that.
All right.
Okay, so sending you both much, 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 much love today.
You got it.
Thank you.
We will talk very soon.
I'll talk with you later on today. Absolutely.
I know that.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Hi, we have David Hochberg ready to go as well.
Okay, great. David Hochberg, how are you?
I'm tremendous. How you doing?
Good, good. Have already told people that you're going to make them homeowners, so there we go.
Let's bring it on.
Okay. Okay, sorry. I am trying to look up something right now. Okay. Okay, now we're going to have an out at 7:28, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you want to get right to those points. All right, now I've queued it up for you to let people know that you want to make at least 20 of them homeowners. And so that is an actionable goal that we're going to work toward. So, all right, everybody, I want you to call us at 773. Jewel, can you put that up for me? Or Matt? I want you to please go to call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. Now, well, Otis gets it. You're right, Moore, but we were in slavery longer than we have been free. We need to understand how the system itself works. Otis gets it. We all get it. Dr. King got it. Reverend Jackson got it. People said, look, we need tangibles. We need tangibles. Everybody gets it, but you can't not vote. You can't do that. What you have to do, remember, voting is the end of the beginning, not the beginning of the end. When you vote, then you must advocate. That is why K Street, which is where the lobbyists, symbolically are in Washington, that's why D.C. is full of lobbyists. And what we have to understand is that the Dr. Kings, the Reverend Jacksons, et cetera, they're the people's lobbyists. So you have to support them. Or whomever you want to support. But know that you have to lobby on the Hill, downtown in City Hall, downstate in Springfield, with the Cook County board, the Cook County board. You have to lobby. You have to be involved. And you get to those meetings and you see who's involved. You have to do that. You can't just vote. And not voting gets you discounted. You don't want to do that. When people see that you vote, they campaign very differently. They come to you acting like they need you. Be very clear on that. I've been doing this a long time. All of my life, by the way. And I've lived a long time. And I'm here to tell you, you have got to be involved. People respect you when you vote and when you are involved. They do that with all the communities who get what it is that they're looking for. Don't ever tell black people not to vote. Don't ever do that. If you do that, I know that you're working for somebody else. You're not working in our best interest. Call us at 773-763-9278.
Stand by. Back in 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
change the world, change the world. Yes, we can. We can change the world, we can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
War and hate to a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is March 9th, Thursday, March 9th, 2023. I want you to call me here at WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. Who wants to be a homeowner? David Hochberg is here. You've heard me talking about David Hochberg and his team, and I want you to call him today if you want to be a homeowner. If you're still using that debit card, you don't get any points for using a debit card. You need to get a credit card. You say, my credit's not good. Well, we're going to be talking to him about that in just a few minutes, because the goal on the Santita Jackson Show is to get at least 20 of you, at least, make you homeowners. How will that happen? Well, he's going to explain it when he comes up in just a couple of minutes. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. Tell me who you're going to vote for mayor, or if you're part of the undecided group and all of that. I want you to call us at 773-763-9278 at the bottom of the hour. Economist Dr. Max Wolf will be talking with us about the jobs report, but also child labor, which has quadrupled in the United States since 2015. It's quadrupled in the United States. We have not learned anything. Child labor, we look at those pictures from the turn of the last century. No. We had child labor absolutely in slavery. This is how we do things in the United States. When will we learn? You can't just continue to not pay people for their work and call yourself rich. No, that's not rich. That's another R word, and it's a four-letter word, R-A-P-E. There you go. Call me at 773-763-9278 in Chicago. We're going to have a high of 39 degrees. There will be rain. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 33 degrees. There will be snow. In the NBA, the Bulls were triumphant last night, 117 to 96 over the Nuggets. The Timberwolves had the night off, but not anymore. In the NHL, the Red Wings 4, Chicago 3, and the Wild were triumphant over the Jets last night. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. President Joe Biden is set to release his 2024 budget today, laying out his policy vision for the year ahead, according to this CNN report. The new budget will cut the deficit by nearly $3 billion over the next 10 years, the White House announced yesterday. Advisors stress that the budget reflects his fiscal vision. Significant investments in manufacturing, climate, education, paid leave, and health care, all paired with a menu of tax increases on the very wealthy and corporations, everybody, including pressing big oil and big pharma to be fair. Millions across Central and Northern California are bracing for an alarming storm beginning today with heavy rain. Wow, California's getting hit hard. And this heavy rain causes widespread flooding, more flooding, in areas grappling with days-long snowfall. More water, everybody. More than 17 million people are under flood watches in California and Nevada. At least 11 people were killed after Russia targeted critical infrastructure across Ukraine with more than 80 missile strikes today, according to officials. Following the strikes, 15% of Kiev went without electricity temporarily, according to an official in the region, as crews work to restore power. Ukrainian President Zelensky said the Russian assault was an attempt to intimidate Ukrainians again and to terrorize civilians. Sadly, that is what happens in war, everybody. The cost of food ingredients is down, but grocery bills are still up. How does that work, everybody? In part, this is because food producers, which stated raising prices a few years ago, have other expenses that remain pricey, like labor and transportation. But critics and industry experts say the cost increases during the pandemic gave food makers cover to hike prices above what those increases called for, boosting profits and correcting what they saw as too low prices in previous years. I don't know how paying labor becomes a chore for owners who are making a profit. Think about that, everybody. You know what? We've been talking about Team Hochberg for a little more than a year now, and they have been very generous with the show, and we've tried to be generous with them, introducing them to people so that we could get them in the community, which is where they want to be, and help you to become homeowners, help you to get your credit together, help you to really understand financial products and how they can work for you. And so I want you to know that if you are a first-time home buyer, which means you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years. In the last 3 years, you need to call Team Hochberg and this man, David Hochberg, who I have with me today. He's your trusted local lender. First-time buyers made up just 26% of home buyers last year, down from 34% the previous year. The numbers continue to fall. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac want to turn these numbers around. They've been alarmed by them, and so they want to incentivize first-time home buyers like you, those people who have not owned a home in the past 3 years, and they're offering substantially lower rates. Now, this program can be upended at any time, so you need to go on and call 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID right now. Call them right now and tell them all about it, tell them everything. If you live in the Chicago area and you earn less than $105,700, that's in your household, and you have not owned a home within the past 3 years, call Team Hochberg at 855-56-DAVID. And you might qualify for one of these amazingly low rates, but you won't know unless you call them, everybody. So if you want to create generational wealth for yourself, for your children, for your grandchildren, get a house. Or find out what else you can buy, but you got to get your credit together and all of that. And so please call them at 855-56-DAVID or go to their website at 56david.com, 56david.com. Welcome back to the show, David Hochberg. How are you?
Good morning. I'm outstanding. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. You know what? You want to, you said, look, and you and I have talked about this because we want this to be an opportunity for people where they can really benefit. And we want to create some homeowners here. Can you speak about that?
Sure. You and I had lunch, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, and I explained in detail what FHFA, the Federal Housing Finance Authority rule came down and Fannie Freddie adopted, which made it, took away all the barriers. What they're called loan level price adjusters, not going too deep into the woods here, but those are different taxes, if you will, for first-time home, but for any type of buyer or any type of homeowner looking to buy a home or refinance. So what they did, because first-time home ownership, according to the National Association of Realtors 41-year survey, it's the lowest percentage of first-time home buyers, 26% of the overall market. That kind of freaked out FHFA and made Fannie Freddie implement these new rules that eliminated all of these barriers for first-time home buyers.
Well, hold on. Why have the numbers fallen so low? What's going on?
Well, last year at this time, it's a great question. Last year at this time, the 30-year fixed was coming out of the threes, and we were solidly in the fours, okay? Fast forward now, we're in the sevens. So the interest rates started incrementally going up on a meteoric basis. I mean, they just started flying up last year. I mean, we started the year in the threes. We ended it in the sixes, but it peaked out in the sevens. Now, at the beginning of this year, Santita, we started in the sixes. It dipped down in the low sixes. Now we're into the mid-sevens again. So we're back into the sevens. Fed Chair Powell talked yesterday, basically told everybody that was listening he doesn't plan on taking his foot off the gas anytime soon with the interest rate. So we're here for a pretty long period of time in the sevens. So the major barrier was affordability. Okay, your mortgage payment that you could afford in the threes or in the twos or the threes and the fours even became unapproachable and unattainable when they hit the sixes and the sevens. So, and especially if you had a low credit score and you were buying a 2 or 3 unit building, they're higher credit overlays that came with those type of properties, which made it even more expensive. So Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, via FHFA, said all the loan level price adjusters for first-time home buyers that are under 100% of the average median income of your county. So in Cook County, and here in Illinois, I know you're up in Minnesota as well.
And, you know, and which goes to D. Ray, because people outside of even Minnesota, because we have people from all over the country listen to the show, and they're part of the show.
Oh, sure.
They want to know, is this a program, would you be able to help people, say, in New York, in Los Angeles?
Yes. All 50 states.
Okay, speak to them.
All 50 states.
Okay, let them know that you're not just talking to people in Chicago.
Could you try again?
Yeah, this is all 50 states, and each state and each county per state has a different average median income. So that's why when we talk about Cook County or Lake County or Will County or Kane County here in Illinois, the average median income is $105,700. I'll just use that as an example.
Now,
okay?
now that 105,700, is that the total income for your house? Say, you know, the husband, wife, the two partners. Is that means between the two of you, together you can't make more than $105,700.
Who's ever on the loan? That's what I was going to get into a little deeper. And thanks for bringing that up. Who's ever on the loan? So if you have two borrowers, right, in a house, and they each make $100,000, okay, and your average median income limit in your county is $105,700, like it is in Lake Cook, DuPage, and Will County here, and Kane County here in Illinois. And one borrower in that household could carry the mortgage, and they haven't been on the deed of a property within the past 3 years, which means that you haven't owned a home in the past 3 years, and that's the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac rule. That's the government's rule. I know it's a little crazy, but you could be 50 years old, owned a home when you were in your 40s, been renting for the past 3 to 5 years, and you're now considered a first-time home buyer, even though you owned a home before. So these are the rules that we're working in that the federal government set out. So if one borrower can carry the load, the loan with all the debt, you could get these lower rates. So there's a lot of twists and turns. Again, you have to meet the average median income, 100% of the average median income. And here's another twist, okay? If you are a first-time home buyer, and your partner or the person that you're buying, husband, wife, partner, whatever, that you're buying the house with, had owned a home in the past, and you're under the 100% average median income of your county, you still qualify. As long as one borrower is a first-time home buyer who hasn't been on the deed of a property, which means you haven't owned a home in the past 2 years, you qualify for these loan-level price adjusters, waiving of the loan-level price adjusters, which helps tremendously. It could save you a point and a half in the interest rate. It's that substantial.
I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. 773-763-9278. But what about, many people say, okay, I don't make enough money to buy a home. My credit's not right, or say I'm a server in a restaurant. And so a lot of my money, I get cash. You get your baseline wages, but most of the money that they make, for example, would be in cash.
Yeah. That's a challenge because we have to go with documentable income with Fannie Mae Freddie Mac loans, right? So you have to be a W-2 to 1099. Here's another challenge that we've been coming up against. If you went from a W-2 employee and went to another division within your company and became a 1099, Fannie Mae Freddie Mac requires a 2-year history of a 1099 income because you've got different ways of writing things off. If you're a W-2 employee, we could count your income on day one. We don't need a 2-year history of that. So if you're a salaried employee, again, there's a lot of twists and turns and rules that we have to follow, which protects the integrity of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and makes sure that the borrower can qualify for the loan, have the ability to repay the loan, which is very important, right? We don't want anybody getting into any type of foreclosure situations because their income changed. That's why they want a 2-year history when you're a commissioned worker or an hourly worker. They like to see a history of that to make sure that you can afford to repay the loan because the servicer who's servicing your loan doesn't want to, issue a foreclosure notice to kick you out of the home. We don't want that. We want to make sure that the borrowers that we're helping secure a home can afford the home that they are purchasing and understand all the different twists and turns that comes with owning a home, right? You're in a condo, okay? If your condo building has some type of special assessment, well, that could impact you by tens of thousands of dollars. I have friends down in Florida that got wiped out, that lived in condos. They got wiped out by the recent hurricane. He just got a bill for $70,000 because he's 1/30th of the condo, and they needed a ton of money to repair the condo. And where's he going to come up with the $70,000? So these are the things, if you own a home and the furnace goes out. Due to COVID, a furnace went from $2,000 to $3,000 to $5,000 to $6,000 to $7,000. Where are you going to come up with the money to replace the furnace or the air conditioner. If your roof goes out because you're living in a home and a roof, the life of a roof is anywhere from 15 to 30 years, and you need a new roof. A roof costs you $5,000 to $15,000 to $20,000. Where are you going to come up with that? So these are the things that the education portion of buying a home comes into play. Because, yeah, it's exciting to get the keys. It's exciting to say you're a homeowner. But, again, you go home, you flip the switch to turn the heat or the air on, and it doesn't work. You now have to fix it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You call out the HVAC company. That's going to be $100 just for the truck to roll out to you, at least $100. So these are the things that our listeners have to be aware of to make sure that if home ownership is one of their goals and a home ownership is what they want in the future, that they understand that there are costs associated with home ownership upkeep that they need to be aware of, and they need to budget accordingly to be successful.
Let me give you a couple of questions. I mean, because people they're scrolling in with questions. D. Ray says, what interest rate is Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac offering compared to the 7% interest rate?
Well, here, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, if you're looking to buy a home and you're not a first-time home buyer, there's a lot of factors that go into it. The type of property that you buy, your credit score comes into play then, and the amount of your down payment. So it's tough to give you a specific answer. That's why I always say in the sevens, okay? Because and what your loan-to-value is, right? If you've got 780 credit scores and your loan-to-value is at 30%, which means you have a lot of equity in your home, you live in a Here, you take this example. You live in a $300,000 home. You have a $100,000 mortgage. You're at 33% loan to value, which means you have 66% equity in your home. That's a very low risk loan. If you have good credit and a low risk loan, you're going to get a lower rate in the low sevens today. If you live in a 2-unit building and your credit score is in the 680s and you're trying to buy a home with 10% down, you're probably going to be in the high sevens. You might be in the 8s, or you might be in the high sevens and have to pay a discount point in order to get into the home. So there's a lot of different factors, and you have to be careful against lenders that just quote rates. I never quote rates because there are so many different variables that go into securing a mortgage and an interest rate that it's a trap. So don't get caught in that trap when you see these low rates and these lenders out there quoting rates. It's a trap. They shouldn't be doing it, and it's quite frankly illegal because once you give a specific rate, you're supposed to technically give an annual percentage rate with it. That's why if you just say in the sevens, you get around that.
Well, that's why you need to call and give D-Ray, call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, so that you can give Team Hochberg the specifics of your situation, and they can answer these questions for you. Eric said he wants to know about veterans with service-connected disability pay.
Sure. Yeah, service-connected disability. If you're in Illinois, and I know all the different states have got different.
Now, Eric's in L.A.
Different programs. Okay, so L.A. he has to check which county offers it. I know in Illinois, if you're greater than 70% service-connected disabled, which means you contracted some type of disability serving our country, right? I'm working with a lot of Vietnam vets that got poisoned with Agent Orange, and they're having a ton of difficulties right now. All of those individuals that I'm working with are greater than 70% service-connected disabled, and here in Illinois, you get you don't have to pay any real estate tax, which is a huge benefit for a ton of homeowners. Now, if you're trying to buy a home with a VA loan and you're service-connected disabled, you don't have to pay the VA funding fee. The VA funding fee is waived, which is a fee that is added on top of a VA loan that guarantees the loan in the event that the veteran defaults on the loan. And the VA loans are one of the best-performing loans with 0% down. So all the 0% down skeptics out there, VA loan offers 0% down, and those are the lowest default rates on any loan out there are VA loans. So Eric was the gentleman's name, was the listener's name. I would advise Eric to go to the county, check with his county to see what type of if they have any tax abatement programs for veterans with service-connected disabilities. Because here in Illinois, the veteran has to take their every year have to prove their level of disability via the VA
down at the county level at the assessor's office in order to get their real estate taxes either decreased or waived.
Well, you know what I'm going to advise him to do? I'm going to advise him to call your office so that you can, so that your people can tell him to do that, because that is what you do. 855-56-DAVID. Call them, Eric, as soon as the show is over. Call them. Indeed, Hannah wants to know, what guidance can you provide on VA loans? I've got one more minute. A lot of people have a lot of questions for you.
Yeah, VA loans are great loans. It's one of the best loans that we do. Anytime we do help a veteran get in a home, VA loans, they offer no mortgage insurance. They offer 0% down opportunity, 100% financing. They offer 100% cash out opportunities to take cash out of your home. I'm just going to rattle a bunch of these off. They offer, if you have a service-connected disability, like I previously mentioned, sorry for talking fast, I'm trying to get all this in. The VA waives the funding fee, so we don't have to add an extra fee on top of that in order to guarantee the loan. But again, I know we're short on time. 855-56-DAVID, which is 855-563-2843. And they can go to the website, Santina56david.com.
One last question.
About getting people's credit cards.
Well, you're going to have to come back. One last question. No, you said do not use that debit card. Why?
Yeah, it's a sucker's bet. The debit card you do not build any credit using a debit card, and I would encourage all of your listeners to Frank Abagnale with the movie Catch Me If You Can. He was the biggest scam artist writing fraudulent checks in the 70s. Leonardo DiCaprio played him in the movie Catch Me If You Can. If you Google Frank Abagnale, Abignale, and look up why debit cards are bad, he's got a great 2-minute video that explains it, because I don't have time to explain it now. Debit cards are the worst things that you could do if you're trying to establish credit, because you're not establishing any credit. You're just using your own money. It's a sucker's play. I'll help you with the credit card. Let's help 20 of your listeners or their friends, family, coworkers, and neighbors buy a home. I'll walk them through how to establish credit, enhance their credit, build their credit, understand the process, and we'll do our best to get them in a home by the end of the year. My goal was 100. You're like, let's tamp that down a little, David.
You threw out 20, and then you said 100. I said, well, let's start with 20, because look, if we can get $1 million, I'm fine with that. I'm never going to stop that.
First 20 is.
That's right.
First 20.
Everybody, Team Hochberg. 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID. Oh, Star Child, just stop it. You're just trying to be negative. We're trying to help, and this is what we're going to do. And so, and don't use that crass language on this chat line. Do not do that. Now, do not do that. If you disagree and if you think that this is not credible, then you say that, but do not use foul language. Not here. Don't do it.
Well, call me.
Well, that's right. Call Star Child. Call 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, and everybody call 855-56-DAVID. Eric, even you in LA, no matter Jewel in New York, anyone, anywhere, call so that you can find out, so that they can point you in the right direction. I'm sending you much love. Thank you, David Hochberg. I can't wait to have you back in the next few weeks.
Thank you, Santina.
Absolutely. And you know it's Santita. What's wrong with you?
I said Santina. What did I say?
It's. I thought you said Santina. I was about to pass out. I was like, oh no.
Santina. I'm sorry. I said Tita.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Before my mother will get me for that. You know that. All right. It's David Hochberg, everybody. 855. Absolutely. 855-56-DAVID. 855-56-DAVID. Let's talk about child labor, everybody. It has quadrupled in the United States since 2015. How can that be? Going to talk with Dr. Max Wolf about it and get a preview of the jobs report in just a few minutes on the Santita Jackson Show. Everybody call 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, so that they can answer your questions about your credit that took a hit, your credit that you do not have. If you need to help your child, your godchild, some young person establish credit, he can help you with all of that. And he can also help you to understand why the debit cards don't work. They're really not good for you. So, please call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or go to their website. But I think you should call them. Their website is 56david.com, 56david.com. So what I want you to do is call them today with your particular situation, whatever it is, Eric, because even though they're based in Chicago, they can point you in the right direction in L.A., and anyone who's listening, I want that for you, okay? Jewel, you are more than welcome, my sweet. That's right. Well, Star Child, we want to get it right. And so next time what you should do is call him. Call him with your doubts and with your questions. You don't have to be incendiary and use foul language. You don't have to do that. Because either you want to fix the blame or you want to fix the problem. Now, I'm into fixing the problem, not fixing the blame. Okay? I have more days behind me than I have ahead. And what I'm not going to do is waste the time that I've got left.
Hi, Miss Jackson.
Yes.
Dr. Wolf is here and ready to go.
Thank you. So that's what I'm trying to let you know. Okay? I don't have time for people who play games. If you want to work this out, then call me. Otherwise, please give it all a rest, because we're trying to work this out. If people want to own some homes, he's willing to help you to do that. And whatever fixes you need to make to your credit, if you need to establish credit, if you've had a bankruptcy, whatever it is, people have been through a whole lot of things. And it's not just COVID. It's hard out here. It's hard.
2 minutes.
Most of us cannot, thank you so much, Henry. Most of us cannot afford to go to an emergency room. You can't, let alone the urgent care up the street from you. People are struggling out here. Struggling. And I want to help. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. And so does Dr. Wolf, Dr. Max Fraud Wolf. How are you, Dr. Wolf?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Oh, please, I got to have you on here. We've been together a long time, and you know what? It was our dear friend. Oh boy, if I call his name, I might start to cry. It was Kevin Gray, who told me about you. He said, "Oh no," he said, "this guy makes some sense." I said, "Oh wow, okay. You think he'll be on the show?" He said, "Absolutely." He said, I think he makes some good sense. He really makes some good sense. Makes some sense.
He was a very decent guy, and I learned a lot from him. He was a very smart man, too. So it's a real loss for an intellect and also for a person. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
Very sad.
Wonderful, wonderful guy. Wonderful, wonderful. We will be going to his service next week.
And young, right? He's a pretty young guy.
Mm-hmm. In his mid-60s. Had a wonderful wife and family. He had 2 wonderful children with his wife, and they have grandchildren, and they even have a great grandchild. So
30 seconds.
Talk about that often. That he was really blessed, and he did a lot of living in his time. So God bless him. So I'll be away for a couple of days next week. Hopefully I'll be able to do the show. Because he's such a dear part of my heart. They can't bury him without my being there. I've got to be there.
Stand by.
So stand by. Thank you so much. We got a lot going on here with this child labor, so I can't wait to get into it. Stand by.
Change the world, change the world. Yes, we can. We can change the world. We can change the world, change the world.
This is the Santita Jackson Show.
To a place of love, it's not too late. Gotta save the children, we can't wait. Let's change the world.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, or should I say welcome back, on March 9th, 2023. In the throes of this election season, this afternoon from 4 to 6, we will have a health and wellness panel here on WCPT. And all my brothers and sisters up in Minneapolis, St. Paul, I hope that you will join in. Eric, and out in L.A., and Carol in Los Angeles, and Jewel in New York, and all of you, and Antho from France, and everybody from every place, please join us from 4 to 6 Central Standard Time. We're going to be talking about integrative medicine, naturopathic remedies, all kinds of questions you'll be able to have answered. if you tuned into the Health and Wellness panel. Of course, Patty Vasquez and Joan Esposito and I will be moderating it, and we cannot wait to welcome you to the panel. So let's talk about child labor in the United States. It has quadrupled since 2015. Have we not learned anything? Why are we using little babies to do grown folks' work? Why are we excluding grown people from the workplace? What is child labor, and why is it still the scourge and still alive in America? Why is it surging? What is going on, everybody? What did Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, why is she expanding, loosening restrictions on child labor in Arkansas? Why are they doing the same in Iowa and Minnesota? What is happening? I had to find out, so let me go to you, Dr. Max Wolf. And why is this something that is of concern to you? Why does it concern you?
Sure, because we've seen, as you pointed out, recently an uptick in children being put to work. And we had a pretty horrific story come out relating to activity over the last several years, actually, which included Arkansas, meat processing facilities and slaughterhouses, which had kids as young as 13, in many cases, working, cleaning kill floors, sometimes overnight, where they were getting hurt, cleaning equipment that decapitates and opens the skulls of cows and things like this, and they were having horrific nightmares. Right? So we know a bunch of reasons that this has been a persistent problem. It's a docile workforce. If you want a workforce that you can boss around and whose rights you can violate, doesn't get a whole lot more vulnerable than a kid. A lot of these kids are also undocumented or underdocumented. So you have a child, and you have a child who has a very good sense, no doubt, of the precariousness, often of their family financially, but also of their family legally and status issues. And it's an inexpensive way to get people to take dangerous jobs at pay they can't live on. And with the growing fragility of the circumstance for a lot of immigrants, whenever you see, ironically, whenever you see a sort of pop-up in anti-immigrant sentiment, it always makes immigrants more vulnerable and therefore cheaper and more desperate, which attracts the attention of a certain type of employer. Right? So this is not going to be everybody or most employers, but it's going to be some. And if you want to say, oh, wow, look what happened 2 weeks ago in Arkansas. I mean, it wasn't only Arkansas, but it was 2 counts of this child labor practice was in Arkansas, where there is a large meat processing business, and those large meat processing businesses do not have a great history in terms of employment of people of color, of children, of the way employees are put at risk in the facilities, which are often quite dangerous. Maybe got a lot of attention more recently around the kids and around COVID and lack of COVID spacing and protection. But in the best of days, those are hard jobs and hard to fill, right? And in a tough job market, especially if you're not looking to pay all that much, jobs on the killing floor of a meat processing facility or cleaning up the aftermath of that are, they're among the rougher jobs. They're dangerous, potentially somewhat upsetting, and they often have overnight shifts to keep the production facility up and running. So it kind of has an odd cocktail. Those kind of jobs tend to have an odd cocktail of undesirable characteristics, right? And so they've tended to be places where people who are pretty vulnerable were employed. If you're looking to fill up labor force because you're having trouble recruiting employees, especially under tough conditions and or with limited salaries, then there's always an idea of adding children. And if you're looking to find employees and keep their costs under control, then swelling the labor force by adding people to it who were once excluded from it, like children, makes a certain sense and a sort of perverse logic of the market. I would say it does make it sometimes tricky to understand the strident pro-child policies that these people attempt to do. I wonder if maybe family values should be turned to family value, which is figure out how to make money off employing everyone in there, and the plural was confusing of values. But yeah, it is hard to imagine kids under 16 to whom this rule applied needing less protection in today's labor market.
Well, I want to know what is Governor Huckabee Sanders doing? I mean, and she's not alone. We're seeing this in Iowa. We see this wherever anyone can get away with it, particularly in these right-to-work states. And wherever people are trying to make money, they will do it. I mean, of course, we are riveted by the photos of the children in the factories at the turn of the last century, but we had child labor in slavery in the United States. I mean, that is what we do. And I just want to know, what are the factors that are driving this now? I mean, it's quadrupled in the United States since 2015. It's just hard for me to imagine a child under 16, a child in these dangerous situations in these factories, out in these fields. What's going on here?
By the way, Arkansas does not have a reputation, nor should it, as a tough place to be an employer. Right? So we're not looking at, this really expressive law. What they're basically removing is that you don't need parental permission as an administrative hassle to work when you're under 16 years of age. That's most of this. It's not everything. It's most of the provision that we're talking about here. So also in a state where a 12-year-old girl who might have been assaulted by a family member needs to talk it over with her parents before not getting her reproductive rights, it's weird she doesn't have to talk over her job with mom and dad. But, I guess her genitals are good for the family discussion, but maybe not her gig. It seems a bit unusual. Those are the rules I've encountered, but I guess everyone has a right to their own. I do think, to be fair to Governor Sanders here, I don't know the intent, right? I do know that it's a large meat processing state, and it's a state that has a fair number of relatively moderately skilled assembly line type jobs. There have been some difficulties.
No, wait a minute. This is the home of Walmart, which, as part of their intake process, taught their employees how to apply for welfare. Come on, Max. What is up?
But there's also big meat processors in the state, who I think have the history and more of the underage employment than Walmart does. Walmart doesn't make much. So they have warehouses, but they're not as big in the manufacturing space. But yes, Walmart's famously from there, as is Tyson, which is more the meat processing type of company. And in any case, there's also some sort of moderately skilled manufacturing jobs. Things like the manufacturing jobs, the sort of less skilled, lower paying manufacturing jobs in food processing writ large, particularly meat processing, have been areas that have really struggled to get and keep employees without, raising the salaries, right? And so I think that might be kind of her saying thank you to them for their support in her various and possible future election ideas. I mean, she has sometimes talked about, at least as a vice presidential candidate, quite frequently. I don't know how likely it is, but she's fairly prominent. Obviously, her father was very prominent. He was also the governor. And she's from a political family. She grew up with a household of two parents.
Governor Huckabee's daughter. I mean, White House, press secretary. I mean, she's tremendous credentials and all of that. I'm trying to figure out what it is in the culture, what it is in the water, so to speak, metaphorically speaking, where we feel that it is all right to hire out children and to put them in harm's way, to take them out of school, Max.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too many people, whatever their beliefs are, who would rather their kid work an overnight shift in the slaughterhouse than go to a drag show. Whatever you think of the drag shows, I mean, look, if you're asking me, see you in the front row. I'll take my chances. That seems a lot better than cleaning up the slaughterhouse. Right? So there's also a question here about what's dangerous for kids, and I'm not sure we all agree, right? So a lot of people I think that, firearms might be dangerous for kids, in part because they are the statistical leading cause of death for a lot of kids in the country. Other people don't. I guess we can have a debate about that. I'm seeing a guy dressed up as a woman, and I'm not talking about Rudy Giuliani every single Halloween. I mean, at a show where you have to pay admission. That seems to be the issue, not when you see it for free. But if you have an admissions price on it, that's apparently really jarring to a lot of people, and I guess just not going to the show isn't an option that everyone feels is sufficient. So, I guess what we're doing to protect these kids, and I think is up to some debate, but I think there are very few people who would tell you that an industrial job for more than a small number of hours is without risk for a young person. On the flip side, I think the argument will be made and that argument may be more about the American economy than anything else, that there are young kids under 16 who need to support their families, and giving them the additional hassle of getting a certification from the government that, their families are okay with it and that it's not too dangerous seems onerous. I think it's probably the bare minimum, to be honest. And it doesn't look to me like it's a good investment in the labor force direction of the country. And I'll tell you why. Nobody, whatever they tell you, is hiring 14, 15-year-olds to train them. Right? People are hiring 14 and 15-year-olds to fill labor gaps and get inexpensive, fairly docile labor, at least most of the time. Now, you can never say every time, but most of the time. And so it is an effort to enlarge the labor force with people who are going to have an extremely difficult time standing up to difficult conditions or low wages in the workforce. And again, the kind of jobs we're talking about here aren't much training. The exception I think most people do see a rationale for was already in place, and that's working in the family business, right? So if your family owns a store, if your family owns a restaurant, we've all kind of understood that folks often grow up working there, and it's kind of okay. Obviously, you hope that the folks and the people in those businesses take special care with the younger folks, but we kind of understand that, and those exceptions were more or less in place. So this is not that case. This is more, another case. And then the other question begins to be, what equality exists between a kid who's working all night at the slaughterhouse and then going to school and the kids who aren't? And we say those people have the same opportunity because I think, believe most of us that they should, and that becomes kind of harder to sustain, right? Is that person going to be awake in school? Are they going to be able to be a part of the schooling and the social life and the after school and the athletics programs? Maybe, there's some exceptional young people out there, but it's a big ask of a little person.
It's a big ask. I mean, I want to know, what is the justification? I mean, where is this going? Because we've seen the numbers just explode over the past 8-9 years. So where is this going? I mean, grown people need jobs, and they need to be paid sufficiently for the jobs that they do. That's not what's happening. It's like we're going backwards, Max. I mean, this is a sitting U.S. governor who said, look, we're still going to protect the children, but under 16, I mean, what is that?
Yeah, not at work. We don't want to protect them so much. I don't know what's in her mind, and I'm sure she's a deeply religious person and probably has a rationale that makes good and moral sense to her. And since I don't know her and I don't know her motivations, probably not fruitful for me to wildly conjecture there. What I would say is I would see this, and I think a lot of people would, as Arkansas is open for child labor, especially coming 2 weeks after a huge scandal in the meat processing industry in which multiple companies, including some large companies in her state, were fined $100,000+ for some pretty egregious labor violations of some very young people, in their early teens. And so it does kind of look like we're open for business. You want to hire kids, come on down. And that may be a million miles from her intention, but it's going to be hard for me not to be very nervous that that's going to be a message people receive, whether it's what she wanted them to receive or not.
Well, I mean, I would like to know, what she's trying to do. I want to know what's happening in Iowa and Minnesota. I mean, this is not isolated.
But the statements all say basically it's another governmental layer of red tape for kids who are trying to help out their families by earning some money, right? And we want to remove this. I would caution that this is reminiscent of some of the debates we had early on with a broader role for women in the labor force. When there was sort of this idea, hey, let's bring in all these new people, and they don't need all these protections. And back then it was always, these ideas are always about pin money. So it's always like, hey, let's not, what they used to call pin money, rather condescendingly, which is, hey, let's not exclude these ladies who want the adventure of earning some of their own spending money at work, right? As opposed to, I think, a more sort of full analytic, which is, hey, we are driving a large number of people, including children and women and children together are disproportionately represented in the poverty ranks of the U.S. Women with young children are impoverished, and we want someone to pay them so they can make a buck and people can make money off of their inexpensive labor. That has been where this usually ends up economically, right? Like that we can lower wages, right? And then it has a perverse effect, like inclusion sometimes does, which is if you make adults compete with children for jobs, right? Some people will say, hey, let's get the kids out of the labor force. This doesn't look good. But a lot of people will be jealous and angry and feel like the kid took their job. And the reaction sometimes in the polls is to strip away the protections because people become angry at those kids for taking their jobs as opposed to upset that the kids are desperate and encouraged to work. Right? And so you get that tension that's been common between immigrants and native-born, in some cases men and women, in some cases white and black, right? So we see these tensions, and it's another way for things to potentially go toward a more kind of combative model as opposed to a protective model, especially when it comes to kids, you know, kind of hard to believe. It also seems strangely out of character for a party that has been pretty excited about saying that everything should be left to the parents. Homeschool your kid, decide whether or not they learn sex ed, decide whether or not they can have reproductive rights if they're a young girl, all this stuff, right? Like, so all these kind of things you think these emerging citizens should be allowed to do. Most of us folks who support these child labor laws don't. So here's my proposal to all these people. Should these kids be voting? I mean, if you're working all night cleaning up the slaughterhouse with a broom, I'd say you've earned a right to show up at the polls.
How about that?
If you're old enough to scrub the kill floor, you're probably old enough to vote. I am shocked that there's no interest in that. But I bet you good money, we're not going to see a rush for youth voting from this community.
Well, as they say, that part. But, you know, I mean, but it's just, I'm just trying to, you know, there's something that is run afoul here, because there's some lessons that we have not learned. This high demand for workers. The answer is what? To get child laborers? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how the system works, Max. I mean, because you have, you know, people, they say there's a high demand for work. People have jobs, but you don't pay them. But, you know, inflation, but the Fed wants to hike the rates. But what we're going to have to do is fire some more people. That's going to be good for the economy. How is firing people going to be good for the economy? How is hiring children going to be good for the economy, let alone the society? I mean, there's something that's way off here, Max.
Make sense. Okay. Yeah, but the part that is consistent is when you have a really kind of purist, hardcore ideological belief that government regulations are bad, then you can easily become interested in sweeping away all kinds of government regulations, many which are not good, you know, that you're right to sweep away, and some that are quite important and you're not right to sweep away. And I think if you get into a sort of crowd pleaser environment where saying anything negative about the government, anything negative about the other political party, anything negative about the leadership of the other political party gets you cheers and excitement, then you're going to go too far in that direction, right? And I think there's kind of always an audience for deregulate, get the free market back in the driver's seat, get the nanny state out of the driver's seat. But that rhetoric, I think, has gotten very convoluted because now there's all these interest in restricting the books people read and the shows they go to and reproductive rights. And so you sort of have this crash up of reactionary ideas of people trying to figure out how to torture the future into the box that they imagine contains the past. I think that imaginary past is important because that imaginary past is often wrong, right? And I think you see that in a lot of things. Maybe child labor laws will be the next frontier, but I think you see that around voting rights access. I think you see that around the sort of bizarre debate about book banning and critical race theory, right? We're like, hey, we used to pretend we hadn't done slavery, so let's keep pretending we didn't do slavery. Like, okay, that's an unusual view of scholarship, right? Like, hey, we used to understand less about this thing we did that was terrible, and we didn't teach it, so now let's also not teach it. All right, I hope that's not the science curriculum. Otherwise, we're learning a lot about, you know, bad humor from the joys of leeching. It's an unusual model, right? But it's a model that says, hey, governments belong here, not there. Right? And that is a long-term thing. All societies that have a market segment and a free market segment wrestle constantly with where to draw those lines, right? And there's gains and losses no matter where you draw the lines, I guess. But I think what we've seen is the things people thought were kind of sacred, maybe like certain prohibitions on child labor and such, may be much more close to becoming contested or softened, than we had thought, right? And the last piece is, I wonder, ironically, if the folks who hate immigrants and have kept them out are now trying to create another underclass of labor.
Of course they are.
And historically, they look for children and prisoners often, if you know American history, children and folks who aren't quite free labor, right? So before 1865, obviously that was enslaved people, right?
And remember the exception to the freeing of slaves was if you go to prison, essentially you go back into slavery, right?
Yeah, that's been consistent, I think, for a long time, right? So I think the sort of size of prison labor is not. So we have a very large incarcerated population. We didn't always, by the way, but we do have a very large incarcerated population since the 1970s, and there is a fair amount of prison labor, right, as opposed to even other periods in American history. So you can look there. Although even the incarcerated population is obviously much smaller than the population of early teens.
Well, and remember the DOJ had a program and has had a program through the prisons that allows corporations, some of our, like Victoria's Secret, et cetera, to use prison labor on the cheap. Yeah, I've got less than a minute here. Where do we go from here, Max?
Yeah, I think we have to decide to have something a little bit closer to a conversation about where we think labor protection lies, because I think we've lost a lot of our labor protection with the transition to the gig economy and independent contractors. And I think that's partly part of the reason, by the way, that our labor numbers, including the ones we'll get tomorrow morning, don't tell the complete story, because there's so many folks working on the DL below the radar with no reporting. There's so many folks listed as independent contractors. There's so many folks in these unusual arrangements that when you start to add it up, it becomes very hard for us to get a picture of what's actually going on for a lot of working people, because too many of those stories aren't captured in the labor statistics. And this would be another gray zone that we're opening up here. And it's hard for me, again, I don't know all the details, but it's hard for me, with what I know of history and what I know of the present moment here, to think that further de-restricting people under 16 to work in the labor force is a good idea, or at least doesn't merit a lot more debate that I've seen.
Well, and Maria Gonzalez said, hey, her uncle worked in the federal prison making car plates for 30 cents an hour. Girl, I hear you. This is ridiculous. And we will not be blessed if we don't bless people. This is not right. But at least you have the information now. Now do something with it. Vote about it and get on your representatives and tell them that you do not like this. I love you, everybody. God bless you. Thank you, Henry, for a great show. Dr. Wolf, it's always a joy being with you. Yep. Everybody, stay with me. So I'm talking with them. I'm talking with them for a couple more minutes on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Love you, everybody. Have a great, great day. Is there anything else you would like to say?
Yes, I'm running a sign-up for summer camp, chicken processing summer camp. It's free. It's for teens, 15 to 17. And the good news is you don't need to get your hands dirty with those consent forms. I mean, the kids might when they're disemboweling the animals, but you won't have to. And look, the good news is the entertainment package includes no drag shows. So your kids are perfectly safe.
Well, the children shouldn't be at the drag shows now. No, the children should not be there.
Yeah, you can have an age limit there.
They should.
Mostly cabarets.
I'm like, yeah, no. I was like, wait a minute, you all go too far. I am with embracing people. Look, I'm an artist. Okay, I embrace everybody. Okay, I'm with that. But we need to have. There's some do's and don'ts. Some no, you can't. No, you're not old enough. Sure. No, you don't understand this. No, I don't want I don't want the teacher teaching you that. Hey, I didn't have sex ed until we were in 5th grade. But developmentally you were changing. It was appropriate then. But at 3rd grade, 1st grade, no. Stop it, y'all. Let's make some good sense here.
Of course, but this is all the reasonable debate stuff. we always find ourselves to be unreasonable debates. Like, can you have a drag show 1,000 meters from the school after school hours? Like, I mean, I don't know how much the kids are haunted by the performances they don't see in facilities in the neighborhood of their school. I think that seems awfully particular to me, right? I'm not sure the kids should see a heterosexual burlesque act that often over lunch and
I
third
don't
day
want
either.
them to deal with any of it. This is inappropriate for the children. How about that?
Look, after a hard night's work in the slaughterhouse, they do have to blow off steam.
Look, I want the woke to wake up. Because some of this stuff I can't abide. I'm like, look, I'm hearing you, I'm feeling you, but a lot of what you all are talking about sounds crazy. Now, this is crazy. There's some things I'm not going to fight for. I'm not going to fight for these children to be exposed to certain things. I'm not. At the same time, I'm not going to allow you to discriminate against anybody. No. But you know, there was something when I was a child, Max, grown folks' business. There's some conversations I will not have around Thea, your daughter. I'm not going to have them around my little nephews. She's too young.
Yep.
Just no.
But would you take your 10-year-old to a slaughterhouse?
No, that either.
I don't think I would do that either.
I want the woke people to wake up. I'm not, no. I mean, because you've got to preserve the childhood of children. That's what, and you put them in school. That's why America needs to wake up, get woke, wake up, get real, y'all, because the thing is, we have not moved, Max. We have not moved. We still don't want to pay people for the work that we need them to do. Still don't want to do that.
Yeah, but childhood itself, if you know what childhood is, childhood is a middle or upper middle income thing for upper middle income and middle income kids. It's an experiment. It's only a couple hundred years old. And protected rights for children were, not so universal. There were places that had them. There were cultures and areas that had them historically, but a lot of places didn't. And industry and agriculture, modern industry, modern agriculture, has used a lot of child labor, and it's used all over the world extensively. And there are large countries, places with 1 billion people in India and other places that have worried a lot publicly about the potential loss of economic vitality to them without child labor. So all of us probably have in our everyday lives consumed products that have had a component of their production conducted by what we would all agree are kids, early teens or younger, right? Could be true in parts of the supply chains for all kinds of things. Hopefully less of that than in some other historical moments, but a bunch. And having a childhood protected from certain kinds of predation is a legal and social commitment that has to be resourced. It doesn't occur naturally. So if you erode those protections or oppose those protections or remove those protections, they go, right? And they go the way of all kinds of other trappings of a social contract with the government and the middle class and some sort of minimum shared life quality issues, right? So that can become, I think sometimes people think these things are inevitable and they come up socially, but they're guaranteed like tomorrow's sunrise.
Yeah.
Right? And they're not, right? They're fought for or they're not. And when they're not, you suffer, right?
That's right. And they're not inevitable. Injustice is not inevitable. Exploitation is not inevitable. It's a choice. These are choices that we're making. It's not right.
In this case, too, again, not to sort of beat up on the details, but removing that restriction for people under 16 of letting their family know what they're doing for a living does seem sort of out of kilter with this general parents decide mantra about schooling and sex ed and reproductive rights and,
Let me tell you, you know what it's called? These are, and I'm just going to put it out here, they're pimps. They're exploiters. No. They're pimps. You want to put somebody on the corner, use their labor and take their money. That's called pimping. Okay? That's what it is. We need to stop candy coating this stuff and call it what it is. The slave owners were a bunch of pimps. That's what they were. That's what they did. And they behaved that way. They would have sexual relationships with children on into adults, and they would bring their issue to work in their houses with their wives. Who does that? The biggest Mac Daddy of them all? That's crazy. And you need to call it, we need to call it what it is, and we have not gotten over this disease, Max. It's a disease.
Yep. Well, at least we should stop calling it family values.
Stop calling it family values and call it what it is, because you know what, poor people, street people, black people, brown people, oh, they're the drug dealers, they're the pimps. No. You're the pimp. The first baby daddy is Thomas Jefferson and everybody else. That's what y'all do. You make it illegal for people to marry. You are all of that. And I am tired of it. Putting these children, I mean, and these people were to take bets on people who were going to die in the meat packing plants. Are you serious? Max, who does that?
Yep.
That part.
You don't feel an expansion of freedom now that kids would have to tell their parents where they're going all night? I do. Andy stayed off my overnight plans. Because you know what? Ninth grade is stressful.
It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your child is? In the meatpacking plant.
Factory your child's in. Or factory your child's in. I guarantee you we'll still be allowing parents to collect that money, because I don't know if kids can have their own bank account. So I don't know how well this has been thought through. Or maybe they won't be paid at all, which will nullify the issue with the payments.
No, Daryl, I struck a nerve with you. Yeah, it's called pimping. That's what it is. You need to call it what it is.
I think that term might get, used in colloquial things as a compliment. I think you want to be careful that's not the way we're intending it here.
Well, now that, we have allowed a great African tradition, oral tradition of speaking and rapping, that's been perverted, because that is not how rap started. That having been said, people, when I say pimping, they know exactly what I'm talking about, and you know what it is. And you know what the pimp is, and you know what the prostitute is. You know who's being prostituted, you know who's pimping.
If you decide to become a pimp or a prostitute in the great state of Arkansas, you don't need your parents' permission anymore.
Oh my gosh. What?
That's freedom. Maybe that's the freedom we're on.
Did you call it freedom? Did I hear George Michael coming out your mouth? Stop it.
Well, I think rest his soul. He's probably a better singer, or was. Now we're probably not equal, but there was a time when he was probably better. But yeah, maybe that's the freedom Ron DeSantis picked up in his moving autobiography.
Oh, man.
I'm sure whoever wrote that had something like this in mind. Probably wasn't Ron, but you can't have everything.
I mean, you talk about ridiculous. They're all ridiculous.
But I believe he does have a newly released book with freedom.
He's on tour with it. Freedom. I'm like with you. Freedom. Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
That's ooh. Ooh.
You guys go lie in the mud. My caravan's coming through.
Oh.
Hey, look, I can't. Maybe we should expect laws like this with the leadership that we have. Sometimes I have questions. I'm a lowly everyday guy. I try to vote. I try to keep up with the news, but clearly there are greater minds at work than my feeble intellect can grasp. But sometimes it is truly mysterious how the Lord tells them to put those kids to work in slaughterhouse. Look, I remember those Bible passages from my study. But then the Messiah said, I see 3 kids over there. Why aren't they just a bowing cow?
Wait, now, hold it. Now, you did go to, wait a minute, you did go to Mass. Bless your heart. Boy, you've had an interesting life.
Yes, I did go to Catholic school for a few years. I'm not sure I was the star pupil they'd first claimed, but I did read stuff, and it was very interesting. And, I have learned and gained from my exposure. But as some of your listeners may have figured out on their own, being smart, that I am not here for the depth of my spiritual profundity, principally as a guest on your show.
Oh Oh my gosh. It's
I'm
just.
certainly not intending to offend anyone. I'm going to switch off to a scintillating Zoom call on far less interesting issues now. But
Well, I am sending you much love.
I don't know if you're going to get lots of hate mail about this from angry kids who feel like we've blocked their slaughterhouse dreams. But I'm so happy to help return those inquiries with you in the spirit of open, honest embrace of a better understanding of what we're talking about.
Lord have mercy. Well, I mean, look, you opened up something, I mean, here, because it's a lot. This is a lot. But I want to thank you, Max. You are the best. We just love you and just...
Love being here, but I always learn stuff, and I will have Kevin in my heart, my thoughts. It's a real loss. I mean, he was a great guy. Great human being, first-class human, very smart, taught me a lot, always patient, always insightful. Right? I think even my biggest fans would struggle to say that about me, but it would be true of Kevin for sure.
That's not true.
It was a good... I feel glad to have had a chance to spend some time with the guy and get to know him a bit.
Well, Kevin...
Wish I had spent more time with him, but yeah.
Kevin gave me you, and I thank God for that.
And he was otherwise a very good friend.
No. He knew that we would get on like a house on fire, and that's true. I just love you to pieces.
Yeah. Good guy. And please bring my warm wishes to folks as you travel to his services. But we'll probably talk before then.
Oh, absolutely. I'm about to call his wife now. Yeah. I'm going to call his wife now, in fact, because I was supposed to call her last night, but I think I couldn't even cry until early this morning. It was just...
pretty shocking.
Yeah. I just said, wow. And my mother just spoken with him the day before. She just spoken with him, because she was on her way to South Carolina. He was going to meet her at my grandmother's house, and they were going to spend a few days together getting things together around the house, and that's that.
And his museum restaurant is going gangbusters, right?
Absolutely.
Not that it can't carry on and be part of his memoriam, but still,
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I hope his children will do that. So, but I'm going to call his wife. Whew. And that's it. So.
Yeah. Another reminder, if you're slow and you need one, like I guess I am, to slow down and appreciate the people who are so important in the world that we often honor more when they're gone than when we have a chance to honor them while they're here.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I honor you. You're my beloved friend, and I'm so glad that you're in my life. You and Thea.
Yes, we agree and reciprocate. Thea does too. She's excited to see Aunt Santita. She's very focused on this coincidence of identical birthdays, by the way.
Is she really? Well, it's true. I mean, at the same time. Yeah. Can you believe it? Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah, she's going to try. She's been planning, inviting and uninviting people to his birthday, her 6th birthday coming up, since about 45 minutes after she turned 5. So she is very, very birthday.
Oh my goodness! Well, I'm going to have a big one this year, so I'll let you know.
Okay, please do. She has told many random strangers in countries where they don't speak any language in common with her in excruciating detail about her birthday plans as they stared, polite and confused at this child.
It's on Monday this year.
I'm going to have rainbow cupcakes, and they're just like, what is this crazy kid? Am I supposed to answer this kid? Does this kid care? I don't know what she's saying. Definitely she doesn't, which is the good news. But yeah.
But keep sending me pictures, please, because I've been downloading them.
Not that shy. Okay. All right. Well, be well. Thank you for your time. I should hop.
Thank you. Sending you much love and many blessings. I love you all. Bye-bye. Jewel, Max, I'll be up there on the 20th and the 21st and the 22nd. So, and Jewel, be up there then. So, love ya. Thank you, Henry, for a great show.